the PVY Z20 Pro. EVO has arrived. 22 kilos, 500 watts, and a torque sensor. What more could we need? Hello everyone. In 2023, the first bike test I conducted was about the PVY Z20 Pro. And Jacques, this year the distributor contacted me again to see if I wanted to test the Porsche PVY Z20 Pro. I wasn't really sure what to make of this, since I had already tested it 2 years ago. But then it turned out that there's an extra little suffix in the name, namely EVO. And the EVO represents a completely different bike than the original Z20 Pro. I will, of course, explain the differences in this video, but before that, we will go through the usual things. So we'll unbox, we'll discuss the specifications, and then come the experiences. So the unboxing is completely straightforward. There's not much to assemble, because when you take it out of the box, everything is on it, except for the seat and the handlebars. Everything else has been installed by the manufacturer, so you don't have to do anything with it. You can get the bicycle ready to ride in about 10-15 minutes. Of course, it's important to, in this case as well, to check the brakes and the gears. But with this bicycle that I received for testing, I basically didn't have to adjust anything. So the brakes, the gears, and everything else were ready to go. I didn't even have to inflate the tires. Unpacking is done, and now we can move on to the specifications. The manufacturer says that this bike has a 250-watt motor, which, if unlocked through the computer, changes to a 500-watt motor. The top speed is 25 kilometers per hour, meaning the assistance lasts up to 25 kilometers per hour. But if we unlock it on the computer, this can be increased to 32 kilometers per hour. As I mentioned, the weight of the bicycle is 22 kilo, more precisely 22.5 kilograms. It has a rear hub motor, a 7-speed gear system, and 2 mechanical disc brakes. The battery is also important, which in this bicycle is 15.4 Ah compared to the previous 10.5 Ah version. So we can say that the battery capacity has increased by about 40%. And naturally, the range has also increased, as the manufacturer claims that with this bicycle we can travel 120 kilometers with assistance. And here's the most important thing about this bike, because the assistance is no longer a pedal sensor or speed sensor, but a torque sensor, which is a much more pleasant, much smoother, and much more economical solution than the original pedal sensor was. That's the specification. So let me show you the bike from the outside, how it looks. You could already see that we are talking about a foldable bicycle. There are fenders both at the back and the front, specifically plastic fenders. At the front, we find a shock absorber which is not adjustable, neither in terms of stiffness nor lockability. We have lights both at the front and the back. This is very important, as the rear light is already connected to the electrical system and also functions as a turn signal, which I can show you. Well, yes, you're right. Not much of it is visible, and especially in sunlight, not much can be seen, but it is there. It's very important to replace the luggage rack. Instead of the relatively simple piece found on the old bike, we received a stronger one, which the manufacturer claims can be used up to a load capacity of 25 kilograms. As I mentioned, there is a disc brake at the back, and we also find a disc brake at the front. What is very interesting is that this bike does not have the usual Shimano shifter, so it's not the lower-end tourney version or SIS version, but a solution called Microny. We also find this brand's shifter on the handlebar. What is important is that I think the exterior might be very familiar to many of you. It certainly was to me, because this frame is incredibly similar to the Hemo Z20 Pro frame, which is not a disadvantage, but quite the opposite, an advantage. As with this frame, we get somewhat concealed wiring, unlike the old version. I also need to show you the handlebar, which is a relatively wide handlebar. As usual, we will find the controls on the left side and the gear shifter on the right side. Among the controls, we find the light switch, the horn, and the turn signal. The computer is probably familiar to many of you from other tests. It hasn't changed at all. It's a relatively old design, but flawless. There's nothing wrong with it, and it's relatively easy to see even in sunlight. You can change the usual data on it, so we can see the kilometers traveled since the beginning, the kilometers traveled since it was turned on, and how long it has been on. We can see the voltage value how charged the battery is, our speed, and obviously which assistance level we are in. There are 5 assistance levels, by the way, from which we can choose. What is also essential about this device is that there is a hidden menu, and in the hidden menu, you can unlock the speed at P8. And you can set it there. I have set it to 30 now, but you can increase it to 32. Here you can set what the maximum speed should be, up to which the bicycle assists, or rather the motor assists. So let's have a little experience report now, because we're talking about a really, really good bike, and because it's raining. So the E20 Pro was a very good bike 2 years ago, and quite a few of you bought it because it offered a very good package at a good price, including a mudguard, rack, light, everything you might need for cycling. And that was still quite rare at the time. Nowadays, we find a few more bicycles that are this well equipped. The Z20 Pro EVO takes it up a notch, as it is not only well equipped, but also features a torque sensor. And this torque sensor is the greatest strength of this bicycle. Until now, bicycles with torque sensors cost a fortune, but this bicycle doesn't cost any more than it did 2 years ago. In fact, in terms of forents, this is getting a bit too much rain. Okay, well, the rain has stopped, so I'll continue from where I left off. Specifically from the point that this bicycle costs exactly the same as the bicycle from 2 years ago. And it's good to consider the price in such a way that, as I mentioned, this bicycle has a torque sensor, not a pedal sensor. This bicycle has a battery that is 40% larger. The battery is 40% larger. So overall, this bicycle offers much more than the Sapco bicycle from 2 years ago. As a negative, perhaps I can only mention that the previous bicycle had metal fenders, not plastic ones like this one. But I think this is a relatively minor detail considering the essence. I don't count the absence of the Shimano shifter as a negative, because the Shimano Cis Tourney shifter is a very low-end product. And compared to that, even this unknown Chinese brand, which is unfamiliar to me, seems better than Shimano, although the name of Shimano is naturally better. And now for the test. Well, I rode it a bit, of course, so I can tell you what it's like to use. And overall, it's good. There are some strange things about it. For example, the torque sensor works oddly if I set the power to level 5 and go slowly, because I'm almost pedaling in neutral, not applying any torque, yet the bicycle moves. In the case where I set the gear and the assistance level correctly, or if I'm going uphill, it's really noticeable that this is indeed not just a pedal, but a torque sensor, because it delivers the torque much more smoothly and evenly without sudden starts when you move the pedal. So overall, you can feel that this is a much better, more refined, and much more pleasantly usable bicycle than its predecessor was. The manufacturer claims that you can go 120 kilometers on a single charge, but I estimate this distance to be around 80 kilometers. However, this is not bad at all. In fact, it's really good. And it also shows that the operation is more economical than it was with the predecessor. The maximum speed, as I mentioned, is limited to 25 kilometers per hour, but this can be unlocked, so we can go slightly over 30. And no, 30 kilometers per hour is not little at all, because this is a small city bike with 20-inch wheels. Where do you want to race with it? So 30 kilometers per hour is more than enough for this bike. They also specified a climbable incline angle of 15 degrees. I made a test video, take a look at it, and then I'll continue. Happy birthday. So in this video, it's clearly visible that this incline, which is the steepest in our area, is about 16 to 17 degrees at its steepest part. I was able to ride up it without any panting, sweating, or fatigue. So we can say that a 15-degree incline is indeed an achievable, climbable slope. What can I say about the Z20 Pro EVO in summary? I can now say that the predecessor from 2 years ago was also a very, very good bike with very good equipment and at a very good price. In comparison, we get this bike with a much more modern frame design, a 40% larger battery, need a significantly greater range, and a torque sensor instead of a pedal sensor. There is a rear light integrated into the system, so we don't just get a reflector. It has turn signals, a brake light, everything you need. We have a very good front light. Overall, the entire bicycle is nice to look at because it is a very well-built, very well-assembled structure with excellent paintwork and very nice welds. So everything is really in order on it. What I haven't mentioned yet is the operation of the gear shifter, but I haven't really talked about it so far because there's nothing special about it. Essentially, it shifts smoothly as butter. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't misalign. As I said, I didn't have to make any adjustments to it. So not only is it not worse, I think it's better than the Shimano Tourney gear set that is usually used on these cheap bicycles. And finally, regarding the price, which I've mentioned a lot, well, we get a price under 290,000 forints with a coupon for this bicycle. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, you can choose from the other 2 videos appearing next to me. You can find the coupon code and link in the video description on YouTube, and there will be a link to the written article. Make sure to read that too. Be good, take care of yourselves, and I wish you a rain-free spring from now on. Goodbye.